I really appreciate that. All right, that does bring us to the end of board and committee reports, and now we have public comment. I will go ahead and read the public comment statement. I don't know if you've seen, but there's 2 microphones, and you're welcome to come up to whichever one is closer to you. I don't have the fancy timer at Berthoud High School here, so I will be timing you on my watch. You'll have your 3 minutes still, but I'll be, or on my clock rather, my phone. What is this? My phone. I will be timing you on my phone. Let me go ahead and pull up the policy. Because the board wants to hear the viewpoints of the public and also needs to conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner, it schedules time during its regular board meetings for brief comments and questions from the public. The board sets an unlimited time for public participation prior to the business portion of the meeting. However, the time for each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes, and each individual will only be recognized once. Public comments and questions at a regular meeting may deal with any topic related to the board's conduct of the schools. Speakers may offer such criticism of school operations and programs as concerns them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly. The board encourages the discussion of all personnel matters to be conducted in executive sessions. The board president is responsible for recognizing all speakers who shall properly identify themselves, for maintaining public order, and for adherence to any time limits set. Questions requiring investigation shall be referred to the superintendent for consideration and later response. The board delegates authority to the superintendent to adopt procedures from time to time as necessary to allow the public to participate in regular meetings through electronic means. That doesn't apply today. Members of the public will not be recognized by the president during board meetings except as noted in this policy. All right, so I'll call 2 at a time, and you can either come up to one or the other, however you want to do it. First up, I have Rob Ryan and then Alex Ryan. I'll give you a wave when you've got 30 seconds left so you can wrap up your time. Give me just 1 second here to set my timer. I don't want to short your time. And I apologize, but it's kind of hard for us to see you from up here. It's like we're, in the theater. So I can kind of sort of see that you're standing there, but
maybe all you need to see.
That's about it. Okay, all right. Let me set my timer for 3 minutes here. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Rob Ryan, 23369 County Road 3, Loveland. For the record, I'm identifying as a voter today. Board of Education and any candidates running for the board, please remember that you serve all kids and represent all of America, not just one political party. As voters, we, the people, need to continue to fight for honest and accountable education system and that creates incredible students, not social justice warriors. I encourage every voter to find a balanced voting guide to help understand the breadth and depth of the issues from our candidates to protect the education of our children. If info on political party affiliation is missing on issues important to you, don't support them. I've been involved in the schooling of my children over the past 18 plus years. Our thanks goes out to the many incredible teachers that worked with us and left a positive impact on our kids. The school board reward and support them. We also remember the negative teachers and their impact, protected from accountability within the educational system. Candidates for the board choose to fix this. As voters, we have supported many school board initiatives many times over, all in the name of better education. But what has the ROI been on this? What has the community received in return for the money spent and trusting the school board vision and execution? I have had to re-educate, correct, and supplement incorrect teachings more often as of late. You have changed education, and not necessarily for the good. Candidates and board, you need to get back to truth in education. You were tasked with engaging students and teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic effectively. I've seen the test scores, I've lived the issues. My observations are enough to question your product and methods. Regarding history, you manipulate, cherry pick, and spin incorrectly versus help our kids learn from history so they don't repeat it. The current liberal education agenda has taken us back into segregation and division versus oneness, accountability, and individual responsibility. There's no better America, and current efforts to spin, manipulate, and mince words are not helping. For clarity, I am awake, not woke. Any woke school board candidate needs to help me understand one thing that has worked well with the woke agenda anywhere or at any time, and why doing more of the same still makes sense. I'm shocked that I can attend a school board meeting in Loveland and find teachers wearing a communist-supporting red t-shirt with the raised fist, with pride,
30
and
seconds.
then have them agitated as to why any parent would dare speak at a school board meeting. COVID never has been about masks or personal protection, but fear, control, false data, manipulation, legalism, restriction of even more of our freedoms, and even the ability of completely removing all parental involvement from schools so teachers can do whatever they want. Change my mind. Candidates, fight for an unbiased and apolitical school board leadership, and then be the board that does come together around goals and actions for superior education. Don't lie to me.
Thank
Don't
you,
tell
Mr.
me what
Ryan.
another candidate says.
Next up is
because
Alex
you don't
Ryan.
know. Thank you.
Alex Ryan and then Nina Winslow. Nina Winslow after Alex.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Whenever, you're Alex?
Yes.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Alexandra Ryan, 23369 County Road 3 in Loveland. Good evening. I graduated from this district in 2016 and went on to graduate from CSU with a degree in finance. I have spent 16 years of my life in the education system, 7 years in public schools, 6 years in charter and classical schools, and 3 years in a public college. For third grade, my parents chose to enroll me in a charter school because they felt their tax dollars would be better spent there. Because of the same failed liberal leadership in the public system, I regret my decision to go back to the public schools for high school. I was not challenged, and school did not prepare me for everyday life. There was no personal finance class, no class to teach me how to interview, no class to tell me how to manage my work-life balance. My parents thankfully filled the void and taught me the keys to success. Why do we continue to set up students for failure? Why do we continue to push students to go to college incurring tens of thousands of dollars in debt and not be able to find a job? All the options for after high school were mentioned, but only one was really encouraged: to get further indoctrinated with the communist agenda and go to college. In 9th grade civics, we took a test to determine our political affiliation. I was excited as I have always enjoyed politics. However, my reaction quickly changed to shock when I began reading over the test as they painted conservatives as heartless and selfish beings. I saw right through the test, but I know many walked away that day believing they were liberal because of the propaganda-laced test. I currently work at my dream job. I got the job because of my morals and values, not my education. In the 5 years since I have graduated, I have had the opportunity to meet and mentor high school girls. I hear all about the curriculum causing an identity crisis. I hear about a district scaring their students into complying and not going against what they tell them. I hear about the extreme liberal socialist agenda being taught. Is this really the best use of our tax dollars? Facts don't care about feelings. Truth isn't truth just because someone says it is. Take accountability and do your own research. This past year and a half has allowed parents an inside look as to what goes on in the classroom. I know if I had a school-age child right now, there was no way I would trust them in the hands of our currently failing education system. Our schools should be a place where free thinking should be taught, facts presented and students allowed to do critical thinking to come to their own conclusions. Instead, we have critical race theory teaching students to hate what our
30
founding
seconds.
fathers fought so hard for. The freedom to come together as one nation under God, regardless of your race, religion, or anything else that is used to try to divide us. You are the leaders of today, but we will be the leaders of tomorrow. We must be prepared. The definition of insanity, according to Albert Einstein, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I plead with you all to stop voting for the same failed policies and ideas that drive our test scores lower, demand more money, and have nothing to show for it. Vote for truth, freedom, and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Nina Winslow and then Ryan McGonigal. Nina Winslow, Ryan McGonigal.
Nina Winslow, 102 East Indiana Avenue, Berthoud. I have been a high school teacher for nearly 29 years. Increasingly, I have witnessed major indoctrination happening, and my guess is that many are naive to that. Why do I think so? Because at the school board meetings that I attended, the teachers speaking to you were wearing these t-shirts, the exact clenched fist and background as the communist salute used by the Soviet Union, even the identical background. Our kids are being indoctrinated. I'm not even sure all the teachers know the history of what they're wearing, but their naivety will help in the agenda of the indoctrination of our day. My appeal tonight is to those on the board who are Christians, as I realize none of this will matter to those who are not. But as a Christian, I take God's word very seriously. Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." A healthy fear, knowing we will all appear before the judgment seat of Christ one day, and we will be held responsible for our actions. Luke 12:48 states, "From the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be required." You have all been entrusted with our children, and that's an extremely high call. Matthew 18:6, "If anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Mask mandates are part of an agenda taking away freedoms and leading us towards socialism and communism. Even something as small as the t-shirts say it all. And through forced masks, you are robbing children of their identities. 3 ER doctors already explained to you the particle sizes and that masks do nothing. Tons of case studies have been given to you as well, but you've refused to listen. I have watched firsthand the consequences of these on my students. The amount of students that were put on psychiatric holds is off the charts. The lack of ambition and emotion is heartbreaking. Depression and anxiety skyrocketing. The dropout rate is extremely high, and the long-term consequences of this are going to be devastating. Proverbs 14:12, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to destruction." Every person on this board will have to answer to God one day regarding how you served him in this position he has entrusted you with for such a time as this. There are many wonderful teachers out there, but there are also many that are so brainwashed themselves, and they pass that on to our kids. Some are pushing gender confusion, critical race theory, and socialist communist ideologies behind closed doors. This is a spiritual war. Parents, I implore you to consider that your children are with the teachers 7 hours
30
a day,
seconds.
and you have no idea what is being put in their heads. They are with teachers more each day than they are with you. Drastic change needs to happen. Morals and values must become important again. This school board election is extremely important. Our children's futures and our freedoms as Americans are on the line, and we need leaders that seek God for wisdom and fear God rather than man. Thank you.
Ryan McGonigal and then Jenny Loggle.
Hi guys, I hope everyone's good tonight. My kids are in charter school and they got an early morning tomorrow, so after this I gotta bounce and get them some food and get them to bed. But in 2005, I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States Army when I joined to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Upon that oath, I went overseas 3 times in my 10 years of service and fought in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. I gave up my freedom so other people could have theirs when I came back. And when I came back to things such as mandates, restrictions, CRT, Marxist materials, everything that is being brought into the schools. And it's a fact that you guys need to have a constitution on you. You guys need to have a declaration on you if you're elected into office by the people. Because if you don't, you're not going to be looking at the basic foundations of what our country is built on. We have the freedom of choice. That exists outside of the Constitution, and Article 9 of the Bill of Rights guarantees us those rights. And those are being squandered. Not a school board doesn't have a decision to change that, nor does the local health department. Parents are coming forward left and right about how students are being bullied by educators because they don't agree with the mandates. Kids having documents torn up, being graded on mask papers. It's inappropriate. Aside from that, the board authorized CRT deep equity writer Gary Howard, who wrote on growing good white folk. That is racist. Introducing race-based materials into our education system is wrong. Having somebody that comes in and says you need to work on taking down white dominance, preaching to kids in school, that's wrong. And you guys don't see that. This board also has a Facebook group following called the Thompson School District Reform Watch. Anybody that stands up and says anything in opposition to the board gets slandered their character gets assassinated, they get false information put out with no consequences, and now there's kids that are going to school and coming back with notes in their backpacks threatening harm, not threatening harm, hoping that their family members die. This is wrong, and you guys are creating a divide in the school district that's unacceptable. And because of these issues and these conditions existing, and the decision of the school board to take upon these and have these fanatics following them that like threaten people, there's a lot of parents that don't come
30
to these
seconds.
because they're scared. Because they're going to get called out on Facebook, they're going to get called out on social media and the news, or they're going to have some three-letter agency come to their home. And the only thing that I have to say to this is the school board and its fanatics are creating a domestic threat situation to the local population. And I implore you, please change your course of actions. I have the right to say this because I'm an expert in this. When I see the division and I see the harassment and threats to the public that stand up to it, something has to be said. Thank you for your
Time.
I hope you guys have a safe night.
Jenny Loggle, Nancy Rumfeld. Jenny Loggle and then Nancy Rumfeld.
Hi there. My name is Jenny Laughlin. I'm a kindergarten teacher in Thompson School District. I spoke a couple weeks ago, and I feel like I implored the board to look at a different perspective, and I tried to explain that there's more science. I have done research. I have tried really hard to get my point across, but I feel like the board isn't listening, so I'm turning to parents tonight. And as a teacher in this district, I'm asking you to go down this journey that I've been on, and I'm asking you to do your own research, because the truth that we think that we're being told isn't all the truth. There is more science. There are other perspectives. And a couple years ago, I started this journey because I believe that the Bible is our standard. And when I started to listen to the little things I was listening to, it didn't mesh with the Bible. And so that is my standard, and I believe it's a lot of our standard. I believe there are tons of parents like us in this district that are just feeling lost, confused, and none of that is from God, because God knows the truth, He is the truth, and we're being told over and over that we need to follow Matthew 22:39. We must love our neighbor. Yes, of course, but Matthew 22:38 says we must love our Lord and God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and that is the first and most important commandment. So I am just here tonight to ask parents to please start researching. Like Nina said tonight, when your kids are in with a teacher all day long, they are hearing what that teacher is their opinion a lot of times. There's not curriculum for everything. And so they do their own research. They pull articles from Google, from wherever. There's not a curriculum for everything. And so they're getting it somewhere. I know as a parent, I never saw my kids with a textbook, hardly ever, from middle school on. They were getting articles from various sources. And so we have to just know that most teachers, believe me, most teachers are in teaching to teach because they love children. That's where I'm at. That's where many teachers are. So I'm not up here tonight saying in any way, shape, or form that teachers are out to change your children for the worse. I'm just trying to say that they maybe don't know themselves. And so they're being led astray, and then therefore leading
30
our kids
seconds.
astray. So please research, please ask questions. I believe we're at a Red Sea moment. I really do. And I believe that if we as parents, teachers, and staff don't step up and don't ask questions and don't check everything with the word, then we may very well lose America as we know it. Philippians 4:13 says we can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. So we just have to do that. We have to be strong, and we have to come together in this.
Time. Nancy Rumfeld, Lisa Winborn. I'm not texting, I'm timing. And that's the only way I can time up here. Thank you. hang on just one second. And I also am running an agenda up here on my device, so I'm sorry, but that's kind of how it works. Hang on a second, Nancy, till I can reset my timer. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Nancy Rumfeld, Loveland, Colorado. I would like to thank Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Sievers, and Ms. Schneider for taking the time to talk with me the other day regarding my concerns about the Corwin Deep Equity Program. I am concerned after the meeting that the decision to implement this program was done so with very little knowledge of the content. As Dr. Gabriel did say, she said that the access to the materials I was given was more than what she had seen, and what I accessed was not very much. This is why any school board must take their duties seriously and ask questions. Set the expectation of the level of information needed to make an informed decision. The following seems to be what drives the need for deep equity training. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. The flaw with this is that America is not about equal outcome. This is what socialism/communism is about. Every person in this room does not possess equal abilities. This does not mean you can't access opportunity. The lie of progressivism is that if life is not fair, then government must make it and will make it life fair. The truth is life is not fair. Your life, regardless if you were born white, black, brown, rich, poor, straight, gay, Jewish, Christian, etc., is dependent on how you choose to live, what you choose to do with your life. Not everyone can or will be a winner, but everyone can be happy and successful if they choose to be. The focus on social dominance assumes that a person born or not born of a certain group is privileged or lesser than. This is insulting to every single person who has succeeded and overcome obstacles in their way in their life. Much of the language in the videos I watched revolve around statements like, be advocates and change agents, change the world, everyone has the correct opportunity. Why is this the role of K-12? Why are we investing resources for this? Where is the evidence that this improves student learning? I could not find one example. I believe that there needs to be a lot more transparency with this program, with the materials, with how
30
deep equity
seconds.
inclusion is being implemented in the classroom. We must do a better job with getting input and feedback from all parents, students, teachers, community. The move to include is becoming so broad that we're losing the ability to celebrate the uniqueness of everyone. Let's step back, push pause to make sure we have identified the actual problem and that this is the right solution. Diversity is a given. Unity takes work, and unity
Time.
is what the district needs to focus on.
Lisa Winborn and then Heather Van Bentham. Lisa Winborn and then Heather Van Bentham.
Hi, I'm Lisa Winborn. I'm in Loveland, Colorado. I have two concerns that I wanted to share tonight. My first concern is about the invasive surveys that many of our high school students had to take or will be taking soon. I don't know where the TSD survey was generated, but there is a company called Panorama Education that creates surveys similar to the one used in our district. The co-founder of this survey company is the son-in-law of Attorney General Merrick Garland, who has authorized the FBI to crack down on parents who protest at school board meetings, conflict of interest. One of the large investors in this company is Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. My concern is that surveys like these are being used to data mine our kids to the profit of large technology companies. Additionally, the accuracy of these surveys will be low. I've heard that students are afraid that their answers will somehow get back to their parents, so therefore they did not answer accurately. These surveys are extremely insensitive to students who have been sexually abused. 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 13 boys are victims of child sexual abuse. Imagine how triggering and humiliating it is for these students to have to take a survey and answer questions about their sexual experiences in the middle of a school day and then be expected to carry on like normal. I do not approve of these surveys and would like you to put in a motion to stop the utilization of them. My second concern is for the deep equity training for teachers that I heard at the last board meeting will start in February. I don't agree that teachers need this training. Teachers are innately intuitive and compassionate. They do not need to be trained to look for inequity, especially inequity based on skin color. If they notice a student needs extra support, no matter what color of skin, I trust and believe they will extend extra help to that student. I think it's insulting to educators and teachers that they would have to be trained to look for inequity. Additionally, some of the deep equity programs cost as much as $400,000. It's completely wasteful spending to purchase these programs. The money could be better spent to increase teacher salaries or some other type of teacher compensation. Thank you.
Heather Van Bentham and Judy Cobb.
Good evening, Heather Van Bentham, Bertha, kicking things. I've heard and seen some disturbing things lately. MSNBC contributor writing that the First Amendment doesn't exactly, nor should it, mean that we have the freedom to engage in actions in support of religious belief. A commenter at the last meeting stating that public comment at school board meetings is not a God-given right. Speakers at school board meetings being called domestic terrorists, and the Biden administration's turning the DOJ against us. Constitution of our United States of America. Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Yes, we do get to act on our religious beliefs. Yes, we do get to speak. Yes, we do get to assemble. One of the only good things about COVID was that we got a peek behind the school door. The collective shock felt around the nation at what we found had been being taught has been profound. A redress of grievances, that's what we're doing here. True threats of harm are not acceptable, and we already have addressed those via laws. Vigorous discussion is not terrorism. How many of us in our own houses have arguments sometimes at increased volumes? This is democracy right here in school board meetings across the country. This is our national family, standing up and pushing back after finding out that we have been dealt with unfaithfully, that our nation's children have been used as political pawns and for social experiments without our knowledge and consent. I just read articles saying that Gen Xers just want to be left alone. My husband and I agree. But also that it's our turn to step up because nobody else is coming to save us. Most of us conservative Christian folks are usually pretty quiet, polite, just want everyone to be left alone in freedom to live our lives. Now we see that we have to stand up, sometimes make some noise, and try to right the ship. It's uncomfortable, but here we are. Let's stay peaceable, but let's stay here for our constitutional right to redress of grievances. Thank you.
Judy Cobb and Darren Rodriguez.
Yes, Judy Cobb, Loveland, Colorado, and I don't have any written comments, but I do have a couple of things I'd like to address. I heard that you were very proud of your progress with making the district comparable with the equity movement. I would just like to point out to you that our country was founded on equality, not equity. And the difference between those two, if you can just imagine a race that is run where everyone starts at the starting line and the ones who have the most talent are the ones who finish first. That is equality. For equity, everyone has to be placed along the route in a place where everyone finishes at the same time. Now, you know that's impossible. The other thing I would like to address, I understand that you're going to be visiting the anti-discrimination process tonight. I would like to know if in your anti-discrimination, are you including the discrimination against the vaccination? Or are you just considering that the discrimination against religious beliefs? And are you considering discrimination against political affiliations? And that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Rodriguez and Brian Karen.
Darren Rodriguez, 545 9th Street, Berthoud. I'm a certified nutrition therapist and a homeschool mom of 3 children. Our tax money supports TSD schools, and I care about children in our community. I would like to strongly encourage you today to examine all of the science available to stop the mask mandate. In the community, masks increase the risk of infection due to the warm, humid, and non-sterile environment they create. In Gainesville, Florida, parents submitted their children's masks for testing, and results revealed 5 out of 6 masks were contaminated with strep, meningitis, TB, encephalitis, pneumonia, E. coli, and other bacteria. Masks reduce oxygen intake and cause inhalation of CO2, as well as methanol, isoprene, acetone, and up to 250 other chemicals the body is trying to get rid of. Even if masks were helpful, we cannot continue masking until the virus goes away, because no level of masking will be effective at stopping the spread of COVID. Because it's zoological in nature, there will always be animal carriers, and the virus will continue to mutate. Masks are detrimental to emotional health as well, and they prevent children from being able to interpret facial cues from their caregivers and teachers. This is also negatively impacting our children's language development, as lip reading and facial expression is extremely important in communication. At-risk children and those with learning disabilities, those on the autistic spectrum, are affected to an even greater extent. Social development is reduced as masks drive our children into isolation. Our kids are learning that fresh air is contaminated and not to trust others because they may be asymptomatic carriers. Masks, and vaccines for that matter, are not our only hope to improve public health. We can be empowered to make lifestyle changes, to provide the nutritional building blocks needed for a strong immune system. And when illness does occur, we can trust that our bodies are remarkably and wonderfully made to fight infection, when we must have access to treatments that do no harm. Quercetin, liposomal vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3, budesonide, hydroxychloroquine, and ivermectin are a few of the powerful therapies used by many doctors to successfully treat thousands of COVID patients with no fatalities. So we do not need to fear this virus and to keep our children masked.
30 seconds.
2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." I declare that sound mind over the leadership of Thompson School District right now in Jesus' name. I strongly encourage all board members and school leadership of TSD to carefully examine all the science regarding mask wearing and to stop this mandate, this harmful and unfounded practice on our children. And thank you.
Brian Karen and Jenny Mishler. Brian Karen, Jenny Mishler.
Hey, good evening. I'm Brian Karen, 5th generation Lovelander. My kids are 6th generation Loveland, Colorado. So I have a pretty good beat on what's been going on in the school systems for some time. I would like to start off with a little bit of positivity and gratitude. On September 23rd, I got some correspondence from Stu Boyd, and he said, "I asked last night that our just hired COVID director and recently hired COO begin work on an exit plan for COVID protocols." There's been no progress on that, and in fact, Larimer County went backwards a little bit on that, but I would like to extend a thanks because, Stu, you were actually engaging with me, and I really appreciate that. And there were a lot of other parents that had similar concerns and similar questions, and you engaged on that, so I wanted to say thank you for that. Huge thanks out to our teachers. The school that my kids are in, the teachers are doing phenomenal. They have handcuffs, we'll say, coming down from the school board. All these different entities are getting pressures from everywhere, and they're doing fantastic. So I have to give a shout out for them. I grew up with a lot of teachers in my family. I rely on their insight, and when I ask them, what is it supposed to look like? What is supposed to be coming from a school board? What are these interactions supposed to look like? They say, well, school boards are supposed to be focused on the education of our children. They're supposed to engage with our community, and they're supposed to listen to parents and people in our community. There's a lot of dissatisfaction right now in TSD, and there are a lot of reasons why. Transparency is a huge issue. Lori Ward, I have a really good example. She, to her personal satisfaction, the detriment of our kids, quite a few months ago, was advocating at Larimer County for mandates behind our backs. We elect these people to represent us, and she went behind our backs advocating for mandates that strip us and our kids of their rights. That is not transparency. Silencing parents, keeping us out of school. We were not allowed in the schools for an entire year. There is no transparency there at all. These are the same kids that we live with, by the way. And then, worst of all, encouraging differing opinions to leave the district. I have another great example with your name attached to it, Mrs. Ward. My wife and myself were very involved in our school system. We volunteered at our school, we coach, we're engaged with a lot of different kids and a lot of different activities. When I suggested that we don't like the vector that TSD was going, Lori Ward's reply to me was quite dismissive, and she seemed quite eager that we would be leaving the district when I said we were looking at other options. I don't think that's right. If we look at across the United States, 1.5 million students have been disenrolled from public schools in the last 2 years. 1.5 million. There are reasons for that. Here we say, okay, you guys are trying to sound very virtuous and say we're trying to keep kids in school. We're trying to focus on education.
30
But
seconds.
we're lacking on the fundamentals. There's this fear-based guise of protection that has a lot of negative consequences. The rates of literacy and the rates of our math scores at TSD have actually been declining lately. That information is very hard to find. It starts to look like political actions when we're masking that information, we're keeping parents out of the schools, we're silencing parents. So I hope the voters recognize this. I hope they recognize the negative status quo, and I hope they're able to get some changes. Current board, the 4 hand-picked follow-ons that you guys are running with are running on failed policies and mandates.
Time. Jenny Mishler and Addison Gregory. And then next is Addison Gregory.
I'd like to start off by saying, again, I think I've thanked him every time I've been here. Dr. Schaefer, I'm always just impressed at the level that you engage with our students and the activities you attend. So I think if anything's come out of me attending these meetings, I have a great appreciation and understanding for what you do. On that note, I would like to, it's kind of moot at this point because Lori is leaving us, but active listening does not include your phone. And I'm not talking about the timer during public comment. As the principal for Berthoud High School was talking, you were on the phone 4 times. 4 times. Texting, scrolling, messing with your iPad. How disrespectful for somebody who's here making a difference with our students every day. I've also been approached by several teachers who've come to me anonymously because they're afraid to speak up. I'm not here about masks or vaccines this time, and I hope the rest of these parents that are here start paying attention to the things that are available to our students. I'm here to talk about a couple of books that have been in the media lately. Come to find out, they're actually on the shelves of our libraries in Thompson School District, available to high school students and middle school students. I actually took the liberty of reading these books so that I would understand that this was not being overzealous or a misunderstanding, and certainly not a proponent of any type of censorship. What these books are nothing short of pornographic. There are actual photos and illustrations of oral sex acts, and those are available on our Thompson School District's libraries. So I encourage you, of the board, to write down these titles. You're welcome to go search them. That's how I found them. Gender Queer, Lawn Boy, Out of the Darkness, Hoop City, This Book is Gay, Queer There Everywhere. The Queer There Everywhere book starts out with a passage that actually indicates that George Washington himself was gay, or imagine if he was. I question, why does that matter? Let's teach the great things that George Washington did. His sexual orientation has no bearing on any of that. Neither should any of our students. Neither should their surveys. Neither should their pronouns. They're here to learn. These books' availability within our libraries without parental guidance or explanation are dangerous. I would like to think that these books found their way to our shelves as a way of librarians to create an inclusive culture. But I am questioning the vetting process as we choose these books. I am a huge proponent of inclusivity and LGBTQ community,
30
but there's a
seconds.
better way to do this without exposing our 12, 13, 14-year-old students to what I consider pornographic. They've made my own peers shudder, and yet these are available to our students. So guys, this is way bigger than masks and vaccines. Talk to your students. Talk to your schools, listen to teachers because they're coming out in groves to those of us because they're afraid to speak to you. That's the culture that's been created. I'm hoping the incoming board will hear us, will
Time.
see us
Thank
as not
you.
crazy, that
Addison
we're just
Gregory,
actively
and then
engaging in our
Katie
students'
Klopper.
education.
Addison Gregory and Katie Klopper.
My name is Addison Gregory, and I'm an 8th grade student at Turner Middle School here in Berthoud. And I do not have a lot of time, so I'm going to get straight to the point. You all should be ashamed of what you've put families through, what you've put your teachers through, and your school administration, and most of all, what you've put us students through. You've caused a division between us that has been going on for far too long. Whether you choose to wear a mask or not, whether you choose to get vaccinated or not, you've caused that. And we elected you guys to protect us as students, and to provide us a safe and well-rounded education. And that is not happening anymore, and that is very, very sad. You can speak unity and acceptance all you want, but all of your actions speak much louder than all of your words. You have done us as students a monumental educational disservice, and I hope you guys go home thinking about the actions you have taken and thinking about the consequences and effects that they have caused us. Thank you.
Katie Klopper.
Hi, I'm Katie Klopper, and I feel like in this environment I need to explain my background. I'm white, Hispanic, Native American. My sister was gay. We had a friend named Bill Stacy that became Stacy in the 80s. So after saying all of that, I'm a big believer in transparency. Transparency means having thoughts, feelings, or emotions that are easily perceived, easy to perceive or detect. I demand that this school district, as a mom and a citizen, that transparency comes from you as a board and the school district. Why is this meeting not being streamed live? It's been planned for weeks, and all of a sudden there's a technical difficulty going on right now. Why did you send home Chromebooks to the kids in March and April of 2020 with no firewall protection? That was just like Lot in the Bible handing his daughters over to the world. Why do you text when we speak? Why aren't you paying attention to when we are talking? Why is deep equity not announced? Why is this not going out to the parents? Why is it not being explained? Why is it not being told, hey, we feel like we need to invest in deep equity in our schools, blah, blah, blah. Why are you not communicating this to the parents? Why is your gifted and talented program failing our gifted and talented schools? I'm a military spouse. This is like the 10th district I'm in, and the worst gifted and talented program I've ever encountered. We are failing those bright kids. Why are there gaps in your curriculum? I've spoken to numerous kindergarten teachers, and I was a kindergarten teacher, and they have to supplement the curriculum because there's gaps in phonics and the phonemics with the reading and the brain development for the kiddos. Why are you insisting on pronouns when it makes people really just more uncomfortable? Having a gay sister, she thinks they're stupid, and that's coming from someone in the community. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is my niece goes to Lucille Irwin, and Peter Pan is now being an it, they, or them. Peter Pan was a male in the book as it was written. Going to that, I'm homeschooling two of my kids, and my son is learning introductory logic, the fundamentals of thinking well. Rules for defining by genius and difference. We're learning definitions, how to define them. This is an educational book. This is what we should be giving our kids in the classroom so that they can think for themselves. A definition should state the essential attributes of the term. A definition should not be circular. A definition should not be too broad nor too narrow.
30
A
seconds.
definition should not be unclear or figurative. A definition should be stated positively. A definition should not be the same part of speech as the term. This is what we should be teaching the kids so they can make their own decisions with what we're teaching them. We're not going to intoxicate them and indoctrinate them with this foolishness. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of in-person public comment. I believe, Matt, we have a few by phone. And Dr. Schaefer, could I ask you to reply to, I'm not sure if it was the last speaker or the one before, about the streaming of the meeting. It's not my understanding that there's a technical difficulty tonight. Is that correct? We never stream these meetings from Berthoud?
Yeah, I'm happy to have Mike Hausman come up and provide an explanation.
Could we get Mike before we get you, Matt? Thanks, Mike. I just would like to answer to, why the meeting isn't being streamed. Thanks.
Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, Mike Hausman, Public Information Officer. Yes, to answer the question, it's not a question of there was a problem tonight specifically with streaming. We do not stream these meetings when we are in Berthoud 2 times a year because we're not able to. The streaming equipment that we use is hardwired into the control room back in Loveland, right above the boardroom where we produce the meetings, and we're just not able to push it over the air. We do record the meetings, though, in their entirety, and then tomorrow, a copy will be included and will be placed on the YouTube channel, just like normal. We're just not able to put it out live, that's why. But it has nothing to do with a technical issue at the last minute.
Thanks, Mike. Perhaps we could look into what it would cost to wire this building so we could do that. Okay, sorry, Matt, go ahead with the calls. Okay, thanks.
Today, I'd like to address the lack of transparency and lack of trust that is growing within the district. Good afternoon. My name is Christina Karen. I live at 2526 North County Road 29 in Loveland. Phone number is 970-669-6769. Today, I'd like to address the lack of transparency and lack of trust that is growing within the district. Strive 2025 outlines 4 focus areas. There are a lot of great buzzwords touted within the plan, but it seems to be misrepresentative of what is actually going on within the district. The student achievement focus states that TSC will focus on educating the whole child. Please tell us if this includes the Colorado Healthy Kids Survey that asks students about their sexuality, sexual involvement, gender identification, highest level of mother's education, etc. Please tell us why the survey was not addressed in the district email, why parental consent, opt-in or opt-out forms weren't included in any district email, or why they weren't even available on the TSC website. The inclusive and supportive culture focus states that school and administrative campuses will foster a welcoming environment, feeling of hope, sense of belonging, and a feeling of being supported. Please tell us how this is the case when we've been told that unvaccinated students will be subjected to extended quarantine. That is medical discrimination. Of choice for individuals who are seeking a rewarding profession. We have shortages of bus drivers, nutrition services, and teachers. If we are a destination of choice, why are people not lined up at our doorstep for these positions? The stewardship of resources states that TSC will be transparent in its partnership within the community. Why then was an email not sent out until October to elicit participation on the family and community engagement policy update? It's convenient that it's right before the election. I'd also like to ask about the transparency with information collected on our students. Why has it not been announced that COVID vaccination status is already available in the student information system? It's not even approved yet for 5 to 11-year-olds. Why has it not been disclosed that multiple genders have already been added to the system? There is nothing wrong with either of these, but there is with the fact that it's not been disclosed. How do you propose to protect our children from unwanted touching? How will you address the concerns over Governor Polis's statement that students should get vaccinated without parental consent? How will you ensure this doesn't happen on your campuses? We expect that no student should feel threatened, be touched inappropriately, aren't given medicine without consent. How will you ensure this is the case with vaccinations? If there is nothing to hide, why are we making important information not more readily available and easily accessible? Thank you for your time, and respectfully, we ask that you address these questions.
Matt, before you play,
I am leaving a message regarding...
Hold on a second, Matt.
before you play the next one, would it be possible for Laura Lee or for somebody from your office to send us that last set of comments via email so that we can listen to them?
Yeah.
I only caught bits and pieces of what she said, and I'd like to
It should be
hear.
a little louder this time. I've got the mic closer.
All right. Um,
Laura
Sometimes
Lee
it's
can do
also
that.
about them on the phone, like some of them
Yeah.
are louder than others.
Sure, I understand, but if you could perhaps send that one to us so
We'll
we
share
could
all
listen to it.
four.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mask mandates at Thompson School District. My name is Ashley Weideman. My address is 3266 Cedric Circle.
There's something with this one. This one is hung up last time too. Let me try a different one.
Hi, my name is Dee Vicino, Deedevicino. I am a school board director candidate for District C. My email address is cd4tsc.com, and my address is 1238 Intrepid Drive. President Ward, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer, parents and community members, thank you for allowing me to address you today. I grew up in a small rural town in North Florida. My first grade class was made up of Black children, Hispanic children, Asian children, white children. We all grew up together, we played together, and we only saw one color. The topic, by the way, is the REAC report. Sorry about that. So the one color that we saw was poor. I have no memory of ever being judged for being white, and I have no memory of any of my friends or their parents using racial slurs or judging our friends based on the color of their skin. We were kids. We were poor kids, and we didn't care. We just wanted to play. I wonder when this changed. I wonder if this changed. Has it really changed? In my experience, I still see children of all races and ethnicities playing happily together. But Thompson School District seems to see things differently according to the REAC report, the Western Educational Equity Assistance Center's Equity Compass Review that was commissioned by the school board last year. TSC is guilty of systemic and structural bias. We have been told that the principles of CRT are not in our schools, and yet the REAC report is rife with CRT terminology. Parents are angry because they feel misled. They see elements of CRT seeping into the schools and feel powerless to stop it. Free societies are defined by inherent freedoms and rights. They are inherent because they are not given to citizens by the state. They belong to citizens by the virtue of their birth. And who are the citizens of TSC? We are. We, the people. The school board cannot revoke what it does not own, and this categorically applies to freedoms and rights of we, the people. Absolute power always lies with the people, and we, the people, lend you this power on a temporary basis. Your power is not absolute. Like Martin Luther King Jr., we, the people, want our children to be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Members of the board, I urge you to rescind the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Plan you intend to roll out in early 2022. This plan does not reflect the values and morals of we, the people, and it is your job, your solemn responsibility to represent the people. As an alternative, I ask you to consider a unity plan, a plan that seeks to unify rather than divide. I agree that we need to address the diversity we have in our schools, and instead of hiring DEI trainers to teach as the principles of CRT, let's educate people about the needs and contributions of others without pitting men against women, Black against white, or the LGBTQ community against the straight community. Unity training brings together diverse people who seek harmony and are willing to commit themselves to work on common goals and common visions for our schools. Let's unite and not divide. Let's teach our children how to work with and not against one another. Thank you for your time. My name is Vanessa Way, W-A-Y. I'm at 1738 Bonnie Drive in Loveland. My phone number is 562-756-5164. I'm just calling to thank the board for implementing the mask mandate. I'm a strong supporter and stand behind the science. I know that Larimer County has just begun the mask mandate, and I just wanted to thank the board again for doing what's right. And I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.
Let me try to get this one last one that has been hanging up. Give me just a second. I'm going to give it another try in a different way.
Hi, I am leaving a message regarding mask mandates at Thompson School District. My name is Ashley Weideman. My address is 3266 Cedric Circle. My phone number is 970-488-9500.
My message that I'd like to share today, I understand, is not a direct topic on tonight's agenda. However, I'd like to share my thoughts and opinions, as I have not done so in the past. I'd like to bring to the board's attention a current issue that is affecting our students' mental health and is distracting our teachers and students from their primary goal of teaching and learning. This issue is causing unnecessary psychological stress and distraction to our students in a social environment that currently has Colorado in the top 5 of suicide rates. This school board has been fixated on COVID-19 policies and has repeatedly ignored the requests and feelings of the vast majority of parents and students wanting choice over their own lives and have instead cowered and given in to a few of the few. The issue I speak of is the authoritative mask mandate this board has forced upon the district in an attempt to rid the few of fear that our students are super spreaders to people like yourselves. Or maybe it is simply the possibility that you don't want to stand up for what's best for our students. You're only looking out for yourself. During the time this district has enforced this draconian mask mandate, the county statistics show no decrease to positive cases, and indeed also show that your mask schools have no better case rates than schools that have allowed choice. The simple truth is that this board continuously shows that it thinks parents and students are incompetent and that they need your everlasting control on this matter. I request that the school board remove the district's current mask mandate, allow choice in mask use, and return to the focus of education content and quality free from this distraction. I understand Larimer County just passed a mask mandate. However, Thompson School District still has another layer in which they can look at changing. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
That's
Matt.
the last of full comments.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, that brings us to the end of the public participation portion of tonight's meeting.